so sick of love songs, so tired of tears, so done with wishing you were still here. Said I'm so sick of love songs, so sad and slow. So why can't I turn off the radio?
Why can't I turn off the
Gotta fix that
radio?
calendar I had. This March, July 15th. Since there's no more you, there's no more anniversary. So fed up with my thoughts
Okay, I gotta cut
again.
you off because you messed up the song there.
Yeah, I did kind of butcher that. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna even hold you.
you messed up the song there. I was gonna let you go, but you messed it up.
Yo, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy Marquise.
And this is your one on your favorite Taylor.
Welcome back to the You Stuck With Me podcast, y'all.
You stuck. You stuck with me.
Babe, how are you doing today?
Cause I'm so sick of love songs,
I don't
so
know why.
tired of tears, so done with wishing he was still
Oh,
here.
no, you ain't gonna do
Said
that.
I'm so sick of
Uh-uh.
love songs,
Steve, can you
so
mute her mic?
tired and slow. So why can't I turn off the radio? Why can't I turn off? Did you really turn off my mic? Jay, the hateration up in here.
Hey, look, there ain't no hateration or holleration in this dance
Man,
okay?
leave me
Anyway,
alone.
anyway,
He
y'all.
really turned off my mic.
So in this episode, y'all, we're talking about how to deal with breakups, y'all. Man, that's a tough subject.
I'm about to break up with you for telling our producer to turn off my mic.
No, but no, but in the serious, in the kind of serious context, y'all, we're talking about how to deal with a breakup because whether you're married or whether you're single, whether you're in a relationship right now, you've been on either one side of the breakup, whether you've been the one that's breaking up or the one that's being broken up with.
Yeah, they both tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's the breaking up is definitely hard. I think that the way that either party deals with it is different. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the make no mistake, the pain is there no matter which side you're on. But we're talking about how to deal with it afterwards. After the initial shock, after the initial feelings, after the initial conversation.
I can agree with, well, I can say that we could talk about that, but I want to just put it out there. By no means we're experts on this. We're just talking based on experience
Mm-hmm.
and also conversations that we have those around us who've dealt with breakups.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely given. I gotta go. I gotta leave. So please don't make it hard for me. I've given up. I'm tired of love. I gotta let it go.
You skipped the whole line, but it's okay though. No, but seriously. So
You tried it. Dang.
so with dealing with breakups, I'm just gonna speak on my experience from the way I've done dealt with it. I've always tried to keep myself busy. This is before I got married, y'all. So dealing with breakups, what I always tried to do was keep myself busy, keep my mind off of it because I mean, eventually it's gonna get better, but you gotta sit through the pain and try to keep yourself busy. You know, try to figure out how to get back to just thinking about yourself and dealing with things that they have as they happen. I mean, there are different waves of grief. One day you're gonna be fine, the next day is gonna feel unbearable, but eventually you're gonna get through it. Uh, One thing that I learned not to do, and this is bad um,
Advice.
advice in my opinion. Don't try to get under anybody else, cause that doesn't do anything. Hurt people.
I mean, if you got an itch that need to be scratched.
I mean, I
No,
think
don't follow me. I'm just
I'm about
talking.
yeah. Don't try to get under somebody else because that is bad advice because you're just transferring your hurt to somebody else and then you still are hurt. You're not healed. So you have to learn to heal yourself. Get back to the things that made you you before the relationship. Do the things that you used to like to do without your ex boyfriends or girlfriends. Or maybe if for the older listeners who've been through this, your ex wife or husband.
Mm.
Because it's like I said, it's going to get better, but you just got to learn to heal and just learn to be by yourself and be confident in who you are as a newly single person.
This just brings me a question I always want to ask since we talking about it. So when we usually talk about breakup stuff like that, we always talk about how the woman goes through a phase, right? Different phases, like she's crying, she got to, eat stuff or listen to love songs and all the other stuff, right?
Hmm.
But and then she gains her confidence and whatever. I always wanted to know, do men go through these phases too,
We
or
do.
do some type of form of phase of well, I always say, and again, I just love that we come up with topics that I talk to the peanuts about.
Hmm.
Uh, so to give a different perspective of breakup before you answer that question. So with breakups, we just got to remember the mindset of it. You're actually mourning the end of a relationship. You know how we mourn when somebody passes on and stuff like that? It's the same concept. But with a relationship, that person may, excuse me, that person is still physically here. We're not mourning them like they're like physically
They,
gone up to glory
they're
in
not
a
fit.
sense.
They're not
They
physically
hasn't they
dead,
haven't
but the
transitioned
relationship
to
is
a
dead.
they haven't transitioned to a spiritual life. I would say that, but they still physically here on earth. So the end of a relationship, it still has the same feeling. It's the end of something important, something that was close to you, something that signifies a part of your life.
Hmm.
And I think sometimes we don't really think of it that way, but it is.
I
You
mean,
gotta mourn.
that's
When you're sad, you mourn.
that's the truth of the matter. Like you just said, the person's not dead, but the relationship is. It's over.
Yeah, no, you got that backwards. The person is still here, but the relationship is no longer here.
Hmm.
The relationship, actually, put it this way, the relationship died.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So let me ask you that. Well, let me go back to answer your
Yeah,
question. Let me.
so to repeat the question, so do men go through phases like that? Like what women do? Like we might have an emotional period, then we go through a period of, finding our independence, and then we out here back in the streets, for lack of better words. So I've heard that men do, I've heard that men don't, or sometimes men may do it in reverse. Like y'all might go out in the streets, party, find somebody else, and then the grief starts kicking in.
You know what? I think it depends on the type of guy because I know guys who they've been, after the relationship is over, they're happy, they're out, and then, after a while it gets old, then the grief sets in that, like, hey, they don't have this girl anymore. Or I've heard it in reverse where they grieve over the girl and then they start to feel themselves again and they back out kicking and doing whatever they want to do. So I think it depends on the guy.
Hmm. I
But
always wondered that.
but make no mistake, guys do go through grieving periods after the end of a relationship, especially if you like put your heart and soul into it, and for some strange reason it didn't work. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of guys are afraid about when it comes to relationships. They're not afraid of committing, they're afraid of picking the wrong one.
Mm. Elaborate more on that.
So okay, let's say that you date this girl and you're doing everything that a man is supposed to do. You're treating her with respect. You're not out here playing in her face, none of that stuff. And then all of a sudden, she out of nowhere, or maybe not out of nowhere, it depends on the lady as well. She just determines that this relationship isn't working, and you, as a man, have done everything that you felt like you were supposed to do as a man, and it didn't work. So you don't you don't want to you're not afraid of commitment, but you don't want to pick the wrong person to give your heart to.
Mm. I think that's with anybody though. You cautious if of who you be vulnerable with and who you share your what am I trying to say? Uh you're cautious of who you try to start a relationship with, build
Mhm.
a foundation with. Cause I mean, you dating. I always say, and I said this previously, dating's like the lottery.
Mhm.
You can keep putting in that dollar for that scratch off and come up with nothing.
Mhm.
Put in $2, still come back with nothing. Put in $20, still come back with nothing.
Mhm.
Or you may come back with $1. It all depends. It's all a gamble.
Yeah. Love relationships is really all a gamble. But I like another example that you've used before
Uh-oh.
when you said that I'm gonna use just relationships, and I'm gonna not use marriage yet. But relationships are like a business, and you find somebody who has they have things about them that you do like, and things about them don't that you don't like, and you want to see if they make a good business partner and see if they're an asset or a liability.
Okay, now I remember what you're talking about. I'm like, dang, I said something profound like that. I be talking a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so I did say that. That's actually one of my favorite answers to give when anybody asks like the approach of a relationship or marriage. Yeah, so to clean it up a little bit, when you enter a relationship, or I mean, we're not saying you don't want to talk about marriage right just yet. So you enter a relationship, a serious relationship, you come in with a bit at a business minded mindset. So you got your company here.
Mhm.
Your future spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever is over here. They have qualities that you like. They have like a blueprint of how they run their business that you want to adapt to.
Mhm.
So when you come together in marriage or common law, whatever you feel is
Serious
deemed
dating.
is serious dating or a committed relationship. You are joining two first together into a merger,
Mhm.
and during that process of dating and stuff like that, you find out is that you make the determination, is that person an asset or a liability. If an asset, then it helps you grow. It helps you build up
Your company.
your company, your income, and also create opportunities and avenues that you cannot physically put yourself through by yourself.
Mhm.
If it's a liability, then you're losing money, of course. Then your stock goes down.
Mhm.
Then you got to deal with the three words, the I, the R, the S, because now they auditing you now.
Mhm.
They looking into shady practices, whatever the case may be. So you got to think of it as, how is this person helping me grow spiritually, physically, mentally, and financially?
And to add something to that, just to tweak it a little bit, not only can how could this person add something to me, but how can I add
Yeah,
something
how
to
can you
them?
add something to them? Because also it goes two ways.
Mhm.
So you got to think about it too, because you can give all the knowledge in the world, you can give all the advice in the world. Let's be honest, everybody could give what quote unquote unsolicited advice, but with that person that you pouring into, you got to think about, are they really receiving what you putting down
Mhm.
and applying it, or they just hearing it just to say they heard it?
Okay, so let me ask you this question: What do
Oh,
you
you full of questions. What? No, I'm just kidding.
What do you do when you're the company that is the liability?
Ooh.
Do you go back and you reassess yourself, or do you feel like okay? Because let's be honest, everybody out here has an ego to a certain degree. Like, some people are gonna go back after the relationship and say, "I'm not the problem; they were the problem." So what do you do? When you are the liability? Do you go back and reassess what you're doing, or if you're gonna reassess what you're doing, how do you do it? Do you be honest with yourself, look yourself in the mirror, take accountability for whatever happened, or do you just keep moving, going along?
Well, first you gotta admit that you are a liability,
Mm-hmm.
that you are the problem. But
Mm.
I use myself an example. Um, Around the time we got together, I had to admit myself. I started to see a pattern of the guys that I was dating. I'm like, well, shoot, maybe I was the problem. And what I did was, I didn't have like a look in the mirror. I was like, dang, maybe I am the problem. And then you came around, and I was fine. I was catching myself, in a sense, self sabotaging, and I caught myself going to this path of previous relationships that I'm like, you know what, you don't deserve to go through that. So then, when I realized I was a liability, I went and asked for help. I went to therapy.
So
But not everybody gonna think like me though.
that's true. That's true.
But to answer your question, me personally, yeah, I go seek out the help.
So to look at my previous relationship prior to us getting married, I realized that I was a liability, and I didn't take a look at myself in the mirror. And it wasn't until I started reassessing myself, and taking accountability for myself and the things that I was thinking, saying, doing, whatever the case may be. And I'm like, okay, you know what? And this is why I wanted to make this next statement. I wanted to go from being a liability to being an asset. How do I go from being a liability to asset? It started with my mode of thinking. And I would say, what did I do wrong? How can I change that? And you
Mm.
keep doing that with every part of your dating life and dating experience. You're like, okay, you know what? Instead of doing this, I'm going to do this. And as I started really thinking about myself and I was focusing on myself, I'm like, okay, you know what? I think that going forward, because all you can do is go on your own experiences and what relationships you've been through, but you can take other people's advice who know what you've been through. But at the end of the day, it's all on you. You are responsible for whether you're going to be an asset in a relationship or you're going to be a liability in a relationship. And more times than not, people out here want to be assets. Nobody wants to be known as the liability in relationships. And if they don't want to take stock in them being a liability, then they need to reassess themselves as a person and really sit there and think deep down, like, do I really like the person that I am, or can I always be better? So when you are in your single phase and you're really trying to do better and learn better, you want to move better than what you've been moving, you're going to become that asset. And not only are you going to become that asset, but you're going to be looked at by multiple people, because it's going to be people who gonna say, hey, I see the way you move, and people gonna be paying attention to the way you move, whether you notice it or not. But you're gonna find that person that's gonna be best fit for you, and guys can be assets together, and that's how you build the stock in your company. You see what I'm saying?
Can I chime in a little bit?
Hi,
Hi,
Steve.
Steve.
Hey, y'all. I think one little issue that I'm finding in this metaphor is that some people, or most people, and most businesses generally, are a combination of asset and liability.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
So, like, it seems like you guys are speaking from like okay, you go from liability to asset, but I think you should be finding someone who has a combination of assets and liabilities that compensates or balances with the assets and liabilities you have, because no one's going to be all asset or all liability even, but you want to find balance between the two. That's all I think.
and that's a good way of looking at it, because, and you're right, Steve. And that's what also comes where people say that you're not going to always be 100%. Sometimes you're going to be like 20. So the 80% is the asset, 20% liability.
Well, I was also getting ready to say it's funny that Steve mentioned that because my question was going to be for you is when, because there's going to be moments you change yourself, you try new things, and the shit don't work.
Hmm.
Okay. So what do you do in those moments where you go outside your comfort zone and you try to do this, you try to do that, but it seems like nothing is working? What do you do then? Do you give up, or like how do you pull yourself? How do you motivate yourself to keep going? Because I mean, I can do all this. A person can do all this changing in the world. They can, be positive. They can be do this. They can do that. But let's be honest, the dating pool, well, from what I heard, I've been out the dating pool for so long. The dating pool is kind of tainted, right?
Kind of.
Again, I can't speak on it because I ain't been out the dating pool for a very long time.
Like I said, the only reason that I said kind of is because from what everybody's telling us, it's just, ugh.
Yeah. So, and how do you navigate that?
You don't.
See,
Yeah.
You step out as someone who's single male with a bunch of single male friends. You literally just don't navigate it. You just avoid it.
you just avoid it.
I mean, eventually you're gonna want a partner. I'm in that position right now, but generally speaking, you can't navigate the dating pool as it is right now. It's like either you waste time. I just build myself up. I focus on me. I focus on what I'm doing, and eventually, if I find someone, I'll find someone good. But dating pool's horrendous right now.
And that goes back to what I was saying earlier when I said, when you're working on yourself, somebody else is going to notice whether you notice them or not. Somebody's going to see, like, okay, he or she's got their stuff together from the outside looking in. Let me see what they're about. And you go from there.
Because imagine wading through a pool full of for lack of a better word, doo doo. You're gonna be like, I gotta get out of this pool. You're not gonna try to swim to the other side. You're gonna get the hell out of the pool.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I love these analogies here. I love it. I love it.
But just going back to dealing with breakups, nobody wants to deal with a breakup whether you're the one doing the breakup or the one being broken up with. But either way it goes, you give yourself an opportunity to reassess yourself and see what you could have done better, what they could have done better, and you you go back and try to build yourself stronger because what's what's love without a little bit of heartbreak?
Well, I was getting ready to say too. I wanna put it out there. It is okay to have a moment to be sad and go through whatever you got to go through, cuz I feel like that gets overlooked.
I absolutely agree
I
with
feel
you.
like that gets overlooked because we always give this advice of going through a breakup, like, oh, don't stay down too long or whatever like that. No.
You got to feel the hurt because if
Well,
you
not even just feel the hurt. You got to process your feelings.
yeah, because people want to fast forward through the grief and you can't do that because if you try to fast forward through the grief, you're not healing yourself and then you get involved with somebody else. Now you're tainting somebody else and you two both have problems that could have been dealt with. Either you or that other person dealt with the grief from their previous relationship in the first place.
Yeah, like it's okay to go through a grieving process. Now, I'm not saying that you got to go, all extreme or feel like you got to go to their house and do harm to them or harm to yourself because that does happen.
Now
You
that
know,
that creates a way different problem.
well, I mean, it happens though. There are situations where somebody might go through a breakup and they try to call the person, I can't live without you and stuff like that, and then next thing you know, they go off themselves. It happens.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not saying to go do that, but I'm saying that it's okay to allow yourself to feel sad
Mhm.
and feel hurt.
Mhm.
I just don't want to. I don't want to get on here and give advice about going through a breakup and just bypass that.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be strong all the time.
Yeah, because we're human. We all have emotions.
I mean, you talking to somebody who built up a wall and felt like that they couldn't allow themselves to cry.
Yeah,
And that's not even on some relationship stuff. That's just life in general. That's just life. A good portion of my life, I feel like I just couldn't cry or feel some type of emotion because that just gave a sign of weakness, and I don't want to appear weak to anybody because I was afraid that I was gonna get taken advantage of or whatever. But we don't feel like that now because therapy and growth.
and there's another thing. I'm glad you said that. When you're going through this, there's nothing wrong with therapy. If you feel the need to
If
speak
you
to
feel need
somebody,
to go to get a therapist, go do that.
yeah, because you sometimes the therapist can provide a listening ear or they can give you some advice that you never really thought of and that could be the moment you have your aha moment and you break through that sadness. Just talk to somebody.
Well, I would say show discernment of who you talk to. If you don't talk to a therapist, because we all been guilty of going to our best friend, our girlfriends, our guys, and talk really bad about the person that you on broke up with, and being a friend, if they a true friend, they support you like, yeah, they wasn't this and they wasn't that, but well, let me rephrase that. Not a true friend, but if they the type of if they a supportive friend and just wanna give you encouragement, their type of encouragement might be to agree with you about that person, or you might have that friends. You might have those friends that tell you like, hey, that could have been handled a different type of way or whatever like that. But the only reason I say show discernment is like, say if you divorced, you going through a divorce. Of course, you're gonna talk to your friends about it, right? But what if all your friends are single and never been married?
That does create a problem and
Yeah,
what I was going to say is this: the people that you talk to, decide to talk to, they shouldn't tell you what you want to hear. They should tell you what you need to hear.
that's true, but that doesn't always necessarily happen.
That doesn't always necessarily happen. That's where it goes back to what you said about showing discernment and who you talk to.
Yeah,
because
And
sometimes
it's okay not to talk to if you're going through some and you don't talk to that one person. It's okay because that happens too. You have those people in your life. You be like, well, they find out that you going through divorce or you sick. So I'm like, dang, how come you didn't tell me? Because at the time, I didn't feel the need to tell you, or I didn't know how to tell you, or hell, you didn't cross my mind. I was trying to navigate the process myself.
mm-hmm. So, with that being said, this leads me to my next topic in this episode: closure. Do you believe in it or not?
I say it's situational
Why you say that?
because sometimes you would never get the closure. You
So,
never.
so how do you deal with not getting closure?
Well, that's an internal thing. It's like what they say about forgiveness. It's not necessarily about the person who did you wrong. It's more for yourself.
Mm. But what would you be forgiving yourself for?
What would I be forgiving myself for?
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be necessary about what I'm be forgiving myself for. It just be the action of, you know what, this person did me wrong, and they still gonna live their life. What am I sitting here still mad about? So I guess forgiving myself for allowing myself to have the continue to have this energy and mindset of trying to get back at a person who probably don't give a damn that they hurt you in the first place.
Well, I think that you need to look at closure from two different perspectives. Closure from the person who was doing the breaking up, and closure from the person who was being broken up with. Now, if you're the person that's doing the breaking up, you might view closure differently because you may feel like you don't want to talk to this person, you don't owe this person anything else. But on the other side, if you're the one that's being broken up with, you want to know, you're going to have questions. You want to know why, or what did I
But
do, or what did I
sometimes you're
miss?
not that person who broke up with you is not going to tell you that.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
So that goes back to what I said. It's more for yourself because I always feel like this. After a while, if you're still hanging on to that one person that hurts you, you're blocking that space for the next person to come along.
I agree with that.
So that's what I mean by it's mainly for yourself. So you can move on and go through the different parts of the life after.
Mm-hmm.
Again, goes back to what I was saying. Breaking up, it could be similar to when someone dies. You go through different phases of grief.
Mm-hmm.
You can be sad, you can be in denial, all that. But after a while,
You
you
gotta
got
move on.
well, no, well, yeah, but in a better wording, after a while, you gotta look at yourself like, okay, this is over with, but what's next for me? Do I
Mm.
still want to willow in this? Do I still want to more
I think you meant to say wallow.
wallow, whatever, willow, water, whatever? Do you still want to sit in that, or do you want to experience life after that? And I'm not saying it to sound inconsiderate, nothing like that. Or I'm not saying it in a way that it's gonna be easy. It's gonna take time.
Mm-hmm.
Depending how deep the relationship was.
Mm-hmm.
So
So let me this is my last question to you on this topic.
oh God, stop asking me questions I don't know answers to. I don't know nothing for real. I'm just kidding. Sorry, my eyes are a little dry.
No, you're fine. So you the relationship is officially over. And I've seen this happen on both sides, so I'm just gonna put it out there. One party tries to contact the other. Then what? Do you accept the call, or do you just mm, do you just let it ring?
Funny story.
Mm-hmm.
I've had an ex try to reach out to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not when I've had exes try to reach out to me. I would like to say that I do have a friendship with one of my exes, but this one in particular I'm talking about, he didn't believe that I was in another serious relationship. He didn't believe that I was getting married and all that. I'm gonna answer your question in a second. And the way he came at me was crazy.
You talking about after the fact that he found out you were getting married, or just in general?
Just in general, the way he came at me,
Okay.
that whole conversation. He's like, "You never loved me. How can you do this to me?" And we always have that mindset of if we ever see our ex on the street, we would do X, Y, and Z. I've had that thought, but I did something completely different. I didn't yell back. I didn't do anything. What I did was I said, "You know what? You haven't talked to me in years. You have not done this, you have not done that. And don't disrespect me by saying I never loved you, because if I never loved you, you would not be on my line acting a
Mm.
fool." And he was like, "You're right. I'm sorry." Cause sometimes you could check a person without being loud with it. So that's what I did. But to answer your question, it all depends. Me, I'm at a point in my life now with my exes and stuff like that. Even before we got married, engaged, stuff like that. I'm at a point. I wish them well. I hope they doing good. I hope they have good health. Whatever. So if they reach out to me, I'm gonna look at that phone a little bit. Like, is this true? And I might pick up out of curiosity. But also too, you talking to a person who has some type of friendship with some of her exes. So it all depends on the person.
I agree with you. It depends on the person. Because me personally, I don't talk to any of my exes. Like, what do we have to talk about? For what?
Yeah.
I mean, unless you just saying, "Hey, I like your podcast," thank you.
Yeah.
I hope it's
Or
helping
if
you.
y'all had a decent friendship before that.
Yeah, we had. I mean, if you had a decent friendship, yeah, but
Yeah, that was my situation.
see,
I
I
had
don't.
a decent friendship.
See,
We were
yeah,
friends before.
yeah, I don't talk to any of my exes. I have not. First of all, we have nothing to speak about. Second of all, I'm married, so that can potentially create a toxic situation that I don't want to be in. That put me in a sticky situation. So I'm good where I'm at. I mean, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're healthy, your family's healthy, maintaining a good lifestyle for yourself. But yeah,
And that's
we have
another.
nothing to talk about.
I'm glad you said that, because let me put this out here. I said I was friends with some of my exes, right?
Hmm.
But let me put this out here for our cousins. Marquise already knew that.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, because I don't want nobody talking about coming in our video and real talking about how can he let her be friend, because he already knew about it.
Hmm. And I
And these exes already, they found out when we was getting married and stuff like that. They're like, "Oh, congratulations," and stuff like that.
and more to the point, I trust my wife.
I just wanted to put that out there because I'm like, because
So
you know how social media be.
yeah, we're not gonna go deep into that, but
We're not gonna go deep
we know
into
how
it,
the
but
social media streets be.
we good over here. He already knew, and the exes are respectful of our relationship.
Hmm. So on that note, you guys, we are out. But before we do, Bear, you want to tell the people where they can reach us?
You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere where you stream your favorite shows. Babe, you want to drop the handles?
Yeah, so you guys can send us emails at youstuckwithme@gmail.com. That is USTUCKWITME@gmail.com. You can reach us on Instagram at youstuckwithme_podcast. That is USTUCKWITME_podcast. You can check us out on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. If you're on Apple, make sure that you rate, review, subscribe. You can find me personally on Instagram and the app formerly known as Twitter at mine_1. That is mine_1 M1NE_1. Babe, where can they find you?
You can find me on IG and the app formerly known as Twitter under Queen Points. That's PO_NTZ. Again, that's Queen Points, PO_NTZ. And also, if you want some more behind the scenes footage about how I get on Marquise nerves and make Steve laugh with my yawns and everything like that, and all the random singing that I'm doing, you can follow me on TikTok. That is Queen Points 22. Again, that's Queen Points 22.
Once again, this is your boy Marquise.
And this is one on your favorite Taylor.
This was the You Stuck With Me podcast. We out, y'all.
You stuck with me. Hey, y'all come back now. You hear?
Yeah. Later.
Peace.